He's angry about mortgages. It's Angry Mortgage. He's swearing. He's cursing loud. He's old. He's opinionated. And he's been doing this so damn long. This program is about mortgages, and this is mortgage advice, but the advice may not apply to your situation. Contact licensed mortgage professionals for specific recommendations before you make decisions about mortgages. You may not agree with Ron, but if you don't, he thinks you're wrong. Oh, and did we say there is a lot of swearing?
And we're back.
I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back.
Good to have you back. Michelle does good work, but good to have you back. Angry Mortgage is on the air. Mm-hmm. So lots to talk about this week. We got to jump right in. We talked about the budget, the federal budget, but there's been so much action in social media on the capital gains story.
Yeah.
Tons. So what the government said when they brought in the capital gains tax increase was that it only affected super wealthy people. It's only affected speculators. Like the whole thing about the budget that they said was, this budget is for all generations. That's the theme of the budget. It's for all generations, except a special focus on young people, the younger generation.
Yeah.
So was the whole story a lie? Like, how can you have a budget for all generations, but we're going to especially look after you guys over here? Okay, like, that might be bullshit. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway. There's the funny part. So they have capital gains. So capital gains are on the sale of the profit on, it's not income tax.
Yeah.
It's profits on the sale of something, sale of stocks, sale of real property, sale of all kinds of things. So like in theory, you should be paying capital gains if you buy a gold bracelet for $100 and sell it for $200. I mean, there's exemptions, there's limits, there's lifetime exemptions, there's lots of rules, but the bottom line is that it's a tax on profit. Okay.
Right. So,
interestingly, the government says this is just for people who are very, very wealthy and just for people who are speculating. Okay? But then people read and thought and scratched their heads and said, wait a minute, I think it's a fuckathon. Okay. I think that there's two groups of people who are getting fucked here.
Yeah.
Okay. Who we don't really classify as wealthy. And one group is older people who've owned cottages and vacation homes for a really long time. So there's a dispute about rental. So some people say landlords who own rentals are not necessarily wealthy, but I'm going to leave that one alone. Somebody else can decide that, okay? Because if you sell a rental and you've owned it for a long time and you make a big profit, you're going to pay more tax.
Right.
Simple as that. Because remember, folks, there is no capital gains on your primary residence, but there is a potential capital gain on every other kind of property, right?
Yeah.
So the people who are sort of can't really say that they're wealthy, although yes, they have had the luck of the land draw. You know, they got lucky on the land. If they bought, let's say we got older people who bought a cottage like 50 years ago, or they inherited from their parents when it was really cheap. So it could be a really long time.
Yeah.
Cottage has been in the family for a long, long time. But now the kids have moved away, whatever, and the people are getting old. They decide to sell the cottage. Well, they could get like blown up on capital gains. Like it's because that's not a principal residence. They have another residence they live in mainly, and they're going to get their asses handed to them for capital gains tax. Okay. Now, there's two sides to that. Some people say, well, they've done so well. I mean, they're entitled to, take a hit. Yeah, but they didn't think so, right?
Yeah.
They didn't think. They thought it was just a family cottage.
Exactly. That's not necessarily fair if they inherited the second home or the vacation home, right?
Look, I mean, I'll tell you one thing about taxes. Fair don't come into it much.
Oh, no. Taxes do not discriminate.
And the other group, which kind of I hadn't thought about until these other commentators brought it up, medical doctors. Medical doctors have professional corporations, right?
Right.
They almost all do. Like, I really don't know of any that don't, okay? And so, in essence, it's a potential additional tax on those medical doctors who all have professional corporations. Because with a professional corporation, there's very few exemptions, very few, there's no free bits of the capital gain. It's very straightforward on corporations. And so we got a whole bunch of pissed off medical doctors. And I don't know if that's the ideal fucking thing to do in Canada.
It's almost like Canada's just pissing off everyone. Wants everyone to like literally leave.
Yeah, but don't let those fucking doctors leave, please. Don't let that happen.
A good chunk of Canadians don't even have a family doctor.
Too much. Way too much.
Because there's a lack of them. So why would we want to push them away? That doesn't make sense.
You're right. And like, I think that's actually the, if I read a study the other day that we're the worst rich country. Like, obviously there's lots of countries that are poor.
Right, right.
But we, of all the rich countries in the world, maybe even, that might be as many as 60 or 70 countries, we are like dead last on access to family doctors.
That's
just
sad.
Really fucked up.
That's sad.
Yeah.
It's free healthcare.
Yeah, free healthcare, but you might not like what you're getting. So that's kind of fucked up. Now, that's the capital gains issues. There was one interesting thing hidden in the budget, though, that you had to actually get it out and read it. You had to read through it and find the highlights for housing, because there was a lot of housing stuff. We covered it. There was tons. Okay. The study of a ban on large corporations owning single-family homes, which is a fucking excellent idea.
For sure. I mean, there's not many homes for them to be buying out to begin with right now, but for future, it's good to prevent it.
So I think, when we look at the States, when we look at the USA, it happens a lot down there. A lot. Like, what happens in the States is because it's such a big country compared with ours, like it's 9 times the population. We're the biggest land. We're much bigger in land, but they are so much bigger in population.
Right.
9 times is a lot. Okay. So they have situations where there's times in a buying cycle where, I'll give you the perfect example, 2008. It's the world financial crisis in 2008. And some values just plummeted. Like there were certain locations in the U.S. where values dropped more than 50%, sometimes as low as like 70%.
Ouch.
Unbelievable. Like
tough times.
People don't realize it. Millions of people lost their homes in 2009. Okay, 2008, 2009. Millions of people lost homes in the States. And what happened? Well, some rich corporations came in and decided now's the time to buy.
What a steal.
Let's
Literally.
steal them. Let's grab them. Okay. And they did. They grabbed them up and they made a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
So that became an interesting play for hedge funds in the United States. And to this day, hedge funds look around and say, is there a particular state? Is there a particular marketplace? Is there a particular region within the state where we think prices of houses are like just individual houses?
Right.
Okay? We're not talking multifamily here. We're not talking apartment buildings, nothing like that. Not like rental townhouse complexes, nothing like that. These are just individual townhouses, individual homes, totally individual title. Let's call it title because if you look at the title in the land registry, it's classified as a single home. Okay. And they said, yeah, there's moments in time when there's the southern part of Alabama might have a lot of cheap houses for whatever reason. So let's go in and buy a whole shit ton of them and wait for the price to go up and rent them out in the meantime. Okay.
Wow. Vultures.
Yeah, could be. You're right. Could be. So this is not a thing in Canada to any extent. Okay. Because prices of homes are batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's the main problem. Like you can hardly you're taking a big risk if you want to make a big bet on Regina, Fredericton or Saskatoon or any of those places, right? So
love you guys, but the growth is not exactly
we love
there.
you, but the values are they may go up, they may not, or they may go sideways, or and rents are not always what they should be. So Although rents in most cities are high, as you know. You know. You're well aware. Okay?
We are well aware in this city. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not a good deal for corporations right now, but there might be a point in time when it is. So the government is saying, look, we have so much housing fuckery in Canada. Okay. So many ways in which average person is being harmed by housing. Let's ban it. And like, I think that's fine. Okay?
Yeah.
I think there's no problem with that.
Get ahead of it before it becomes an issue.
Yep. So I think that, but like a lot of things in that budget, a lot of proposals in the housing side. We got to keep a very sharp eye on these fuckers to make sure it actually happens.
Make sure they actually pull through.
Because sometimes you're just throwing promises out there, and we've all heard the promises of all building all these houses for the last 8 years.
It wouldn't be politics if there wasn't false promises.
Ooh, you're so right. But hey, the thing that pisses me off is these things are easy. Like a lot of these promises are easy to do. Like that doesn't cost any money. That ban, right? You just draft the law, put it into place, and it's done. Okay, that's not hard. Some of the stuff that they lie about or don't do or promise and don't fucking do, some of them aren't even that hard to do. They just don't get around to it for some fucking reason. I don't even have an answer. Okay, but it's true. There was something really weird that I was reading lately about. There've been a lot of money spent and time spent, energy, programs, tons and tons of programs for the last couple of years about building new rental properties.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And some of those properties are going to be subsidized homes. Like they're going to be supported by municipalities to have a low rent for people who need them.
Right,
for disabled people, low income, disabled people who can't work, the people who are maybe even people who are homeless, okay, and to get people into these rent subsidized, very theoretically low cost homes, low cost rental units. So I'm reading the other day, and fuck me, how small some of these things are. Yeah, like seriously, like I'm reading about some of these units in Toronto and Vancouver.
Yeah.
Are proposed to be smaller than 350 square feet.
Isn't that like the size of this studio?
It's so fucking small.
That's tiny. Yeah, holy shit.
Honest to God, I think in some states that's smaller than a 2-person cell.
Wow.
Like that's like so weird, right? Like,
yeah, that doesn't seem right.
Well, I read it. That's in the plan. I haven't built it yet, but that's in the plans of some of these programs. Okay. Super, super small.
That's so sad. Like that's really sad.
Hey, it's what like I keep telling everybody. When the price of real estate in most of the big cities in your country is unbelievably high, it's poison. It poisons everything. It poisons your society. It poisons young people's hopes. It poisons your ideas about what real estate should be. Okay, you start thinking, well, we tried 485 square feet, and we tried 450 square feet, and we still sold some. So let's try 350.
Let's push their buttons.
Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
That's
so
what
sad.
happens. That's the way it goes. Because once you turn that loose, once you try something like it. It's just like shrinkflation in the grocery store, right?
Yeah.
Like, when
they started doing like a Gatorade, or even this one, you see how there's like an indent going upwards.
Yeah, big indent.
Like they're smaller, but they're more expensive.
There's less in them.
There's yeah. It's just, and then you notice it everywhere. So
because you know what happens? I've always believed this, that when there's not like massive fucking protests, like when you shrink down a product at Loblaws, but nobody shows up at Galen Weston's house to picket his driveway.
Yeah.
Right? You fucker, you shrinkflation, high-priced motherfucker. Okay, when that doesn't happen,
shit slides.
Shit slides. And the next thought that goes into the business mind of the motherfucker is,
let's do it again.
Let's try a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Fuck. I'm telling you, it is literally here's one of the biggest things that changed since I was like a kid, since I was like a teenager. So we're talking 40 years, right? More than 40 years, 45 years. What I've noticed more than anything else in business is that business people now at the very top, like the very top business leaders, they actually have no shame. Like no shame. Like if you go back 45 years, if you were to go into the owner of a store and say, we want to shrink this bottle down, put a big divot in the bottom of it so it'll be less water in it. He looked at you and said, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like people can't be fooled. You can't fool people. They'll just be men. And I'd be ashamed if that happened to me. If I was the boss of this company and you're trying to fuck people like that, that is shame on my name. I'm not going to do it. Okay. Well, or if you were in the airplane business and your airplane company like Boeing is taken over by bean counters and accountants, and let's just not tighten those bolts anymore, and we'll save some money. Okay, yes, sir, but I'm the engineer, and the door may fly off. Okay, well, how many doors will fly off? Well, one is too much. Right? Well, no, I think our insurance will cover a few. Okay, like fuck you, you fucking accountant motherfucker. So okay, like that is so fucked up. Okay, we're gonna make the planes cheaper, lower quality, and see if there's enough insurance to cover when the planes fall down. Okay, like
sure.
Oh god,
like how is that the go-to solution? But okay,
that is the ultimate fucking example of no shame. Like when you make that proposition and the engineer says you're cutting quality too much, and the accountant CEO says, "No, I think we'll make some more money." But what if the planes fall down? Insurance.
It's a maybe, though. It's a maybe.
Aren't you ashamed, motherfucker? Don't you have like an ounce of fucking shame in your body to say, no, I don't want any fucking planes falling on my watch. I don't want any doors flying out on my watch. Okay. I don't want any wheels falling out on my watch, falling down on my watch. Okay?
Engines failing.
Like I want to build a good fucking safe plane. That's what I want to do. Okay. Why wouldn't that be how it worked?
Yeah.
Fuck.
That's fucked up.
It is, I tell you. All right. So what's happening in the housing market in general? I'd say in Toronto, BC is like Lower Mainland sales are like just sort of flat. I'd say housing sales are just sort of flat there. Maybe, but and we're going to come back to this in a second, but maybe a little on the quietish side because it's still not cooking. Like, no, Alberta's still doing great. Okay, Alberta's still. I get comments out of Alberta on social media like, "Shit, there was 5 offers, 6 offers, 7 offers on a house." You know, in Edmonton. You know, like Calgary, like action. Okay. Speaking of Calgary, you know what? I think I got a shit all over that mayor in Calgary. Right? Let me tell you what happened. Okay. Let me tell you what happened in Calgary. So there's a new mayor. She may be fine. I don't know. Like I don't know her. She's new. She's only got elected like a year and a half ago. Don't know her. She might be the greatest person, but this is what she came up with, and you'll appreciate this as a younger person. She came up with this story last week that you know what? Young people just want to rent their whole lives. So I immediately thought, the fuck? Like, what's going on here? Okay, that's a strange statement.
Yeah.
But she kept on going.
Yeah.
She kept on going, and she said, you know, the idea of everybody having to own a home, that's so 50s, 60s, and 70s.
There, she's not wrong.
Okay, but she's saying young people want freedom, and therefore they just want to rent. Because that means you can change cities, you can change countries, you can come and go as you please. Young people want freedom. They want to rent for life. Don't you think that's a little bit of fuckery there? Okay?
Yeah, you can't just categorize all of us just like, yeah, you guys just want to live free and be modern day hippies. Like, no, not all of us want that. Sure, some of us do. Like, am I looking into leaving this disastrous country sometimes? Yeah, of course I do. And not owning a home makes that easy, but it's only because I can't own a home here.
Bingo! Yes, exactly. Okay, that's exactly what hit me like a fucking brick in the head.
Yeah.
Okay, was that no, crazy mayor. Okay, it's not what you think it is.
It's have no fucking choice.
It's because the houses are so fucking expensive. It's so fucking impossible to save the down payment. Everything's so fucking hard to do with housing that. Yeah, I guess we want freedom because we may need to escape. But in reality, if we jumped back to the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and houses were really cheap.
Yeah.
And you could get into them easily. Like, we're going to save this for another episode, but I got a whole rant I got to do about how CMHC is going extinct and first-time home buyers are just falling down into almost tiny numbers. But that crazy statement of the mayor that, it's not, it's like she was saying, even if houses were very affordable, even if they were extremely affordable to buy,
no,
these young people want to rent.
No. Why would I want to pay someone else's mortgage off for the rest of my life?
Thank you. So we're sort of reaching apex bullshit amongst politicians. Okay. Like, young people don't want to own homes now. That's the new bullshit.
Wrong word. We cannot.
Bullshit. All right. So holy
very
fuck.
Small percentage of us can.
Jesus. So finishing off on the housing talk, I had to touch on Crazy Mayor for a second. Okay. Look, she may be the nicest, best, smartest person in the world, but that was a really fucking dumb statement. I don't give a shit. Bad policy, bad idea. Quit that fucking bullshit. Okay. But I would say that we're observing in April, and this was towards the end of March as well. I would say that sales have slowed down in Ontario.
A lot.
I think they've slowed down. I think that was sort of unexpected, but it's very much tied to rates. I believe mortgage rates are, particularly in British Columbia and Ontario, are incredibly impactful. People thought that rates were going to come down. That was the way it was sold, right? We all heard it. In December and January, people were talking about there will be cuts from the Bank of Canada and rates will come down. And, everything will be better. So people thought, rates come down? The last time rates come down, prices went up. So I better run out and grab a house. I better start looking. And there was a bunch of action in January and February. And then nothing. That was a very bad whistle, wasn't it? All of a sudden it's just slowed down because what happened? March came and there was no cut. April came and there was no cut. And now people are thinking, when the fucking cut? Maybe there's going to be no cut.
They're going to sit back and wait.
Yeah. And the fixed rates went up a little. And it's back to sit and wait. So that's what we're looking at right now. Now, here's something that I find interesting, though, particularly it's a little bit true in British Columbia, but it's very true in Ontario. The little rental condos, particularly in Central 416, that's right, sort of the downtown, the core of Toronto, right? Yeah. A lot of those places are being offered for sale, like the inventory is building, and it looks like the prices are coming down a little of those little condos, okay? So why would that be? Well, I think the reasons should be obvious. That the math ain't mathin' for the rent.
The math ain't mathin'.
Nope. Because if you've got these rising, if your variable went up in payments, or if your renewal hit and your mortgage payments went up and your condo fees went up, because let's face it, folks, the fucking monthly condo strata fees never go down.
No,
never in the history of the world. Okay, no one's ever. Mine went down 20%. No, fuck, you never will hear that. Okay, that is.
It'll go up. Happening. They'll remove a service that they cover, but it'll keep going up.
It'll keep going up. So, and property tax I don't think property tax has changed yet, but yes, it some people's have. Just MPAC's been delayed forever on the new assessments, but property tax never goes down. Property tax never ever goes down.
Nope.
So if you've hit a point where your mortgage payment has gone up, your property tax has gone up a touch, your monthly strata condo payment's gone up.
It adds up.
And all of a sudden the rent doesn't work. By the way, maybe the rent never worked. Maybe you were praying for increase in value, right? And math ain't mathing. So we're seeing some people bail.
Yeah.
Now, here's a really important thing to think about on the condos. Those small condo and even ordinary regular size condos. Strangely, regular size condo is like 680 square feet. You know, it's still not huge, but like the one.
That's a regular size condo.
Well, though it's a one bedroom. It's a one bedroom, and the 2 bedrooms, I mean, is bigger. But on all condos, in the next 2 years, over 50,000 of them are going to come on stream in the GTA. These are towers that are going to reach completion.
Right.
Okay. Projects that are going to complete. And if the prices are falling off a touch right now, in that central 416 core, if we throw another 50,000 of them into the mix over the next 2 years,
more supply brings price down.
So I think people are giving that some serious thought. Okay. That's actually, I've said this before. We don't build anywhere near enough low-rise homes. We don't build low-rise, which is towns and single-family and duplexes and semis. We don't build them. We haven't built them for a few years now in any major numbers. And as we've talked about on the show many times, construction starts of those products keep falling. Yeah. Okay, they're not going up anymore. There's less of them this year than there's been the previous year, and which is less than on and on. Okay, the record year was 2021.
Going downhill at this point.
Going downhill.
Yeah,
absolutely right. So I don't necessarily, because the inventory is so small of the low rise. The new inventory is so small. I just don't think that the prices there are going to come off in any meaningful way. Yeah. No matter what happens. But you add 50,000 units in Central Core Toronto, GTA area, you might have some issues on the condos.
Yeah, I mean, after all, it is Condo City.
It's Condo City. It's just turned into Condo City. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see the viewer mail. We got some questions we got some questions that crop up in social media comments. Let's have a look.
This one says, first my bank told me I hit my trigger point and my payments would need to go up, but it's been 3 months and no change in payments.
That's interesting. I mean, we haven't revisited the story of the variable rate where the payment doesn't change. So we got a couple of banks where payments go up every time the prime rate goes up. That's Scotia and National Bank. And those people have gone from, in some cases, 1.45% interest rate all the way up to 6.2%. And their payments have gone up, obviously, a lot. Yeah. Okay? But they're managing. By and large, they've either, the people who are in real trouble sold, the people who, and that's very few. Okay. And a lot of people they cut back on other forms of discretionary spending. And a bunch of other people, some of them locked in. And they may have locked in at a slightly lower rate than 6.2 or whatever it was. Okay, but they're not defaulting. Like those two banks have the same mortgage default rate as the other banks with variable, except RBC is sort of slightly different. But CIBC, TD, and BMO, in theory, your mortgage rate could go way up on variable, way up, and your payment stays the same. Your payment stays the same. However, eventually, what RBC has one thing they do is that what happens if the interest has gone so high that your payment doesn't even cover the interest anymore? Like imagine you were paying $2,000 a month, and that was great. Paying $2,000 a month, and that was you had a 1.45 interest rate, which actually existed, folks. That was around back in 2021. So your rate's gone now to 6.2, and when you started your $2,000 a month payment, about $600 went to interest and $1,400 went to principal. You're paying your mortgage off at $1,400 a month and growing.
Yeah.
And then interest rate has gone so high that your payment is still $2,000 a month, but your mortgage interest is now $2,025. So your mortgage is actually growing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the payments are like
Stay the
not
same.
even making a dent.
No, they're not even covering the nut.
Yeah.
So what RBC says is that can't happen. RBC
Right.
says we will adjust your payments so you're always paying off at least $5 a month. You have to pay off some
At least 5.
principal. Well, that's not a bad system because we got some people with other companies where they're going behind $200, $300, $400 a month. Okay, so they're going backwards, right? So what they call, there's a point where they don't allow this anymore. All of these other companies, whether it's CIBC, TD, or BMO, they have a point they call a trigger point. Some of them have different names for it, but let's call it a trigger point, where your mortgage has grown too much and we can't let it grow anymore. So we've got to completely readjust your payment so that you're now going back to normal amortization. So that's referred to by some as a trigger point. Okay, so that's the point where you must increase your payment. The interesting thing is, I know that banks are out phoning people about this. I know that that's been going on for maybe not recently, but 6 months ago. Whew, it was going on like constantly. Like banks were calling their customers saying, hey, you're hardly paying a nickel off your mortgage, or your mortgage is actually growing. You need to change your payment. And that's sometimes rough. They may say you will reach your trigger point.
Yeah.
So I think what happened to this viewer, this listener, is that they got a call like that. That you've got to change payments, and you've reached your trigger point, you're reaching your trigger point. Your trigger point is soon. And they thought, okay, shit, I guess I'm going to have to do something. And then a month went by and no change. Bank didn't change anything. And then another month, no change. And then third month, no change. Well, the truth is you didn't actually hit the official trigger point. Okay, because once you hit it, the bank must change the payment. Okay. But if you just got a call and you never got a letter, I think you're probably still going to float along for a while, because it's not like the rates are going up anymore, right? They're not. Okay. So
hopefully
not going up. So what else? We have another question, I think.
This one says, everybody keeps talking about government land being released to builders like post office land or military land, and the builders could create affordable housing. So when will that happen?
Yeah, we've been hearing about that a lot. Actually, I think the first guy who suggested that a couple of, maybe 18 months or 2 years ago, was Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the opposition. He said, if we release a ton of land, if we look at all these federal lands we have,
we could build
in federal buildings, like, post office, military, whatever the hell it is. If we started to convert those lands toward residential, if we're not using them, and offer the developer effectively free land, that they could build houses more cheaply, right? Makes sense, yeah?
Yeah.
And then we've been hearing about it from this government. Like, we're hearing about it from the province, we're hearing about it from the city, but most particularly, we're hearing about it from the federal government. The federal government has the most land, right? They own the most, okay? They own the most buildings, they own the most military, like, the whole, you remember, you've been up to the Downsview lands, right? It used to be an airport up there, a military airport, and then I don't think they're finished building shit there yet, right? They're just still going at it.
Empty.
Still empty.
No, there's
some, right?
There's some. Yeah.
Okay. So, but they have lots of land like that, right?
They do,
So they have lots of land. So, I'm just saying lots, but they got some. Okay. And this was mentioned, I think, in this budget, that there would be moves made to try to better utilize federal land that's underused. There's nothing going on there. And convert it to something that's going to allow for low cost housing. But just like everything to do with fucking housing, it takes forever. Okay?
which it shouldn't, but it does.
I've been hearing about this for a long time now. Like, so what the fuck? Like, why can't we just see it? See, to make it happen, just make it happen. Like the one I read about, they want to convert an old government office building to condos. But because that's extremely complicated to change office to condos, and it needs a lot of permits from everybody to do. Like, the federal government could say, yeah, let's do it, but the city's got to agree to everything.
Yeah.
You got to go through the process. And then it's the same speed to convert office to condos. It goes at the same speed as starting from scratch.
Tear the place down and start all over again.
It's exactly the same speed. And it's almost identical expense, except there might be a break on the land because it's government land, right? Okay. And that's meaningful, but slow. Slow as a snail. Like, it's slow. Okay. So, yeah, you can start it. I haven't heard of too much starting. I've hardly heard of any starting. And just the planning process takes a couple of years. The way we run
Not surprised.
the way we run this fucking madhouse of a country. Okay,
We're
everything
like
takes
snails.
planning and reports and fucking studies and on and on and on. Shit, it's fucking nuts. Okay, so on the rate side, we talked about rates being a little higher. I just want to talk about fixed rates being a little higher. I want to talk about the Bank of Canada's dilemma, because we're hearing more about this in media and in social media, but even in news and newspapers. And you've seen a newspaper before, right?
Yeah.
You're young, but
I'm not that young.
All
Yes,
right.
I remember newspapers.
Okay.
And those little things
But
that
you
you put
haven't
$1 in and you get the Metro, whatever.
But
Yeah.
you haven't actually picked one up for a while, right?
No, not in a long time.
No. I know what it is, but I don't use it. Okay. So it's online. It's on. You never watch the news on TV, right?
It's too depressing. I can't do it.
Okay,
I get my news from like TikTok, which is so
From
bad.
the Buzz 6, right? Yeah.
Six Buzz,
Six
whatever.
Buzz, yeah, whatever the fuck it is. There's the news. Apple News. That's it. All right. So it is in all those places. It is the dilemma the Bank of Canada has that our economy is looking like it's becoming shittier. Okay.
You don't say.
More job losses and more belt tightening because of these renewals that keep coming in. 500 renewals every day in this country. Okay. So people are getting the news. Their mortgage rates their payments are going up every single day. 500 people get that news, 500 families. Okay.
Yikes.
So the employment's not great. The sales of goods is not great. The transport of products is not great. Like, everything's not going very great here. But things are going pretty damn good in the U.S. And
Let's leave.
they won't let you in. Unless you're from Honduras, they won't let you in.
Damn it.
Anyway, and their inflation runs hotter. Like, we had a second inflation report below 3% just last week. Okay. That's definitely not a bad number. That's a number the bank can live with. Okay. In the States, it's running hot. It's running, like, I think over almost 3, I think with 3.7 or 3.8 they had. So they got a hotter report down there by far than us. Their jobs numbers are great in the States, booming for jobs. So the Bank of Canada has a dilemma, a problem. The Bank of Canada would like to cut rates. They really would. They see the inflation under control. They're not going to cut in June. I don't believe they will. But they're getting to the point where they wouldn't mind a little rate cut. For this simple reason, that when they start to cut rates, it takes a long time for them to get down to a lower rate. Like, they just don't drop them in half, right?
Yeah.
They go very gradually, okay? And because they go down gradually, the economy can keep getting worse until the rate cuts really come into effect, right? So they wouldn't mind cutting soon. But if they cut before the U.S. cuts, the Canadian dollar gets its ass kicked.
Yeah, because we're doing so great already.
Yeah. So that's the dilemma. But my thought process is that once the Bank of Canada governor knows that the U.S. is going to cut, and maybe that won't be till December or January, whatever, I think he's going to be able to risk 2 cuts. Like, he can't go hard more than that. And the dollar just gets crucified.
Yeah, plummeted.
Okay? So, but he can go 2. The dollar will take a hit, but it won't take an unmanageable hit. Okay. because the price of oil keeps going up, and we're sort of a petrocurrency, so not really, but a little. And I think that's what we're going to see, but it's a hell of a dilemma. Like, they would all rather just go at once. Like, one day, thing that our bank would love to do is just, okay, States is going next. We're going to go first. It's all agreed. Then Europe's going to go the same, and it's all going to be everybody in sync. It looks like they're not going to be able to be in sync this trip. So
Interesting.
There's going to be, I think the Bank of Canada is going to go first. And I think Europe will go before the U.S. Fed does. Okay. But I think we might get 2 cuts out of Canada. I don't know when they are. It could be the fall. It could be later than that. Could be almost end of the year. Okay. But we're probably going to get 2 cuts before the U.S. cuts.
Hanging on by a thread, but.
Yeah, not fucking pretty. I agree with you. Okay, I agree with you. It's not pretty. So now we have reached our favorite part of the program.
What the actual fuck?
What? Now this is a startling one. What the actual fuck is with this gold heist?
It's like what that Money Heist Netflix
Yeah, it's like
show
those guys in Spain.
real life.
Yeah, the guys in Spain in real life. Okay, yeah, in real life, like
they were inspired.
fuck, like this is the fuckedest, upest, crooked bullshit that I've ever heard in my life, and it's a story. My God, like the cops even said, the cops, which really shouldn't be too, they I don't know how proud they should be about this, because actually the U.S. cops are the ones who started it. If it wasn't for just to back it up a little bit so we understand how they all got caught.
Yep.
So they all got caught. There's 9 of them all got caught. And that was just announced last week.
Yeah.
Okay. They all got caught, and they got caught because one of the guys, like the truck driver, guy who actually drove the truck that stole the gold, he decided to take his share of the gold because he's a criminal, right?
Right.
He does crime for a living.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
He decided to take some kind of his payment somehow and go down to the U.S. and buy illegal guns to bring back to Canada to make more money, more profit on. Okay. So the U.S. local state police caught him with all these trunk full of guns and money. Okay. And said, well, you're under arrest, fucker. And then he just decided they just did a little check-in and, okay, looks like this guy drove the truck for the gold heist. Okay. Now, folks, we got to talk about this thing. This is like fucking serious, this gold heist. Let's start at the very beginning. 1 year ago, a shipment of gold bars came from Switzerland right here to Toronto, lands at Pearson. I don't know why you bring gold to Canada, but so be it. They did it anyway. I guess you got to make jewelry or some fucking thing, but anyway.
No questions asked there. My question is why they trusted Air Canada, but continue.
Well, hold on. That is a serious fucking question you just raised there. Oh, wow. Like, so the company in Switzerland selling the gold trusts it to Air Canada, who loses your baggage every second fucking trip. Okay, so we're going to trust it to Air Canada. Fine. Swiss guys, don't do that again. So Air Canada, the flight comes in and they take the gold off the flight and they move it over to the quote unquote secured warehouse, the high security warehouse, okay, waiting for the Brinks truck to show up to take the gold away. Now, this is all an inside job, by the way. This is all people who were working.
A few of them were employees.
They were employees at that warehouse. Yeah.
Right.
So then, this is so fucked up. That's why the Canadian cop said, this will be great for a Netflix special. They should do this on Netflix. Oh, gosh. Yeah, dude, don't think crime is cool, okay? But anyway, so
we're embarrassed enough.
It is funny though. It is funny. All right. So then the guys working on the inside. So they got a weigh bill from some seafood that they had in the warehouse in the freezer section. And they cut and pasted some news story about the gold weigh bill into the seafood weigh bill. And so then a truck shows up, okay? Old rickety truck, no identification on it.
It doesn't look secure at all.
No, thief dude jumps out in a t-shirt and jeans, okay? Like, this ain't the fucking Brinks truck, okay? Like, he jumps out in a t-shirt and jeans. And they load the gold onto this rickety truck, okay? And he drives away. Okay.
Goes on with his merry way.
Well, like, I got seafood isn't gold, and the way bill's like cut and paste, and I guess the insiders were the ones who were. But I got to ask this question: if there were two insiders, is that all the people in the fucking warehouse at the time? Like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, wouldn't you need like super secret codes to get into the secret locked room?
And I swear they didn't even know it was missing until the Brinks guy showed up. And he's like, where is it?
Yeah, where is it?
So everyone was like, the 2-3 people who were there were just taking care of the whole place.
Do you think they tried to give the Brinks guys the frozen calamari? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck happened there, okay? But wait, there's more. It gets better, okay? So thanks to the U.S. cops, the Canadian cops could solve the crime, okay? So they arrested all these people, and they recovered effectively nothing.
Yeah.
Like there's 20 million in gold, 2 million in foreign currency, and stolen a year ago. And they got like 90 grand worth of gold bracelets.
Bracelets, yeah.
Because it turns out they melted down all the gold and sold it. Okay. So they're never going to get the gold back. So, by the way, the apparently they refused the Brinks insurance claim. Like when Brinks said to Air Canada, you know, they went to their insurance company and said, "Oh, we got to get." The insurance company said to Brinks, "Look, we don't think we should pay you because you should have known Air Canada was fucking stupid. Okay? you didn't make sure the secured warehouse was not secured. Okay,
yeah.
Anyway, they didn't want to pay.
Oh man.
So we got the inside job. The fucking gold's gone. It's all melted down. It's all sold. But the main funniest fucking craziest fucking thing, the real what the fuck moment, is they arrest these guys and immediately let them go.
Yeah, I heard one of the guys was spotted at the gym not even 24 hours after the news was released.
Never even. They didn't even do a night in jail. They actually, some of them didn't even have to get bail. Now, another really interesting thing is one of the guys had stayed working in the warehouse after the theft. One of the thieves stayed working in the warehouse. I don't know, what's he thinking? He's thinking, well, more gold may show up. I can steal more. Okay. Like, what the fuck? I mean, get the fuck out of Dodge. It really makes you wonder, like, how secure were these guys in the stupidity of the cops that they thought, we'll just melt the gold down, sell it, and we'll stay. Wait for another thing to come. I don't know. We're just staying. We're not fleeing the country. But the wild part is, now, they all were let go. Some of them were just let go. They signed a promise to appear. They didn't even get bail. They said, yeah, I promised to show up in court. Now, this is how fucked up Canada is.
What the fuck?
Woo! Like,
why is crime so easy?
Crime pays, baby. Crime pays. Okay? But here's the crazy part. Like, we're promised to come back for trial.
Pinky promise.
Gotta swear we'll come back, please. And they got the $20 million. Okay, they melted down the gold. They got the cash somewhere, and apparently, quite a few of them have passports for other countries too. Okay, maybe they put them on an ankle bracelet because I'm telling you, they let them go.
It's so crazy.
Like, what the fuck is the definition of a flight risk? Okay, like what was it? Your worship, we think these people should be let go on an appearance notice because they have ties to the community and they would never flee the country. They each got like fucking $3 million for fuck's sakes. I mean, what's going on here? Like, oh my God. But welcome to Canadian justice.
It's a joke.
It's a joke. And if you don't think crime pays in Canada, just wait for the gold for seafood swap. It's the best way to make money you can imagine. All right, folks, we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
If you like the pod, well, don't just sit there. Go to YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and all the other ones and like the pod. And don't forget to subscribe so we can keep being angry at mortgages and swearing about mortgages. Angry Mortgage could use your support.